Minocqua Brewing Company owner Kirk Bangstad will file a petition with the Wisconsin Elections Commission tomorrow in an attempt to bar former President Trump from the Wisconsin ballot. This latest action comes as other states have already made decisions on whether to keep Trump on their ballots. Earlier today, Michigan's Supreme Court said it will not hear an appeal of a lower court's ruling from groups seeking to keep Trump from appearing on the Michigan ballot. Again, this happening here at the Wisconsin Elections Commission tomorrow.